At 83, Barbra Streisand just said something that made me sit up straight. I haven't had much fun in my life, and I want to have more fun. That's Barbra, the legend, opening her heart in a late-life BBC chat. I'm Sarah Reed, and you're watching Golden American Legends. I grew up loving old movies, big voices, and those velvet glow close-ups. But this is different. This is a woman with 2 Oscars, shelves of awards, and a life of spotlights, saying the real treasure now is simple: kids in the yard, dogs at her feet, and wandering in my husband's truck. She's also dropping a new record built on that idea, The Secret of Life Partners Volume 2, a theme about love and connection in our later chapters. It feels intimate, it feels brave, and honestly, it made me wonder what she means by fun. Is it freedom she never had? Is it the kind of love that doesn't need an audience? What do you think she means when she says she wants more fun now? I went deep into her memoir and fresh interviews to piece this story together. The confession is just the start, because to understand it, we have to rewind to the first big break and the first big bruise. Stick with me. Here's the part nobody saw under the lights. In 1964, Funny Girl made Barbra the toast of Broadway. She laughed on stage as Fanny Brice, hitting notes that shook the rafters. Backstage, a storm brewed. In her memoir, she recalls a brief flirtation with her co-star Sidney Chaplin that she stopped to honor her marriage to Elliott Gould. Chaplin's pride snapped. Night after night during love scenes, he whispered insults under his breath, a bitch, or worse, pretending it was sweet talk to the audience. Barbra writes that it rattled her so deeply she felt, for the first time, "Oh God, I'm going to faint." She calls this the moment that started my stage fright, the panic before curtain that followed her for years. Imagine that, America cheering, critics raving, and under the applause, a young woman trying not to shake. That early pain carved a hard lesson. Fame is loud, but cruelty can be quiet. It shaped how she guarded her heart and why she held her ground later. The world only saw the triumph. Barbra lived the cost. And when the story moved from stage to screen, a new test arrived, one wrapped in movie star charm and handwritten letters. On screen, Barbra and Omar Sharif glowed. In the 1968 film A Funny Girl, their chemistry lit every frame. Off-screen, it was softer. During filming, Barbra and Elliott Gould were drifting, living separate lives, and loneliness can make dinner feel like rescue. She agreed to a few dinners with Sharif. He was smitten. After the shoot, he kept writing, asking her to meet him in Paris. She said no. In her memoir, Barbra explains it simply. The attraction worked for the movie, but she couldn't see a future with him. There was a big age gap. She was in her mid-20s, he was 45, and she was still a married woman trying to hold on to stability while the world watched. The old rumor mill spun this as a secret affair. She says it wasn't. It was a near miss, a reminder that the fantasy on film can't always live in daylight. Sharif stayed in the dream of the story. Barbra chose her real life, letters folded away. That decision set her path back to the home front, where the truest heartbreak and breakthrough waited with the man she'd married too young. Young love burns bright. At 21, it can also blind. Barbra married Elliott Gould in 1963. Both of them talented, hopeful, and, in her words, so innocent. She writes, "We succumbed to convention and got married at an age that now seems ridiculously young. By 1969, the truth landed hard. I hadn't really been ready for marriage, but I was very ready for a legal separation in 1969. She wanted adventure. She wanted excitement. The divorce became final in 1971. Through it all, she focused on work and on their son, Jason. That choice, stepping away from the safety of a young marriage, wasn't a scandal. It was survival, and it was growth. She learned to trust her instincts, even when the world had a different script. The fairy tale wedding dress didn't deliver a fairy tale life, but it did deliver a new compass: independence. That compass would guide her through the next act, where presidents, movie icons, and political leaders took notice of Barbra's spark, and sometimes mistook her kindness for an open door. The admirers lined up, the myth machine cranked, and Barbra kept drawing a line only she could see. Then the legends lined up, as they do when a star shines that bright. In her memoir, Barbra mentions flirtations with names that fill history books: Marlon Brando, Canada's Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. She tells a fun side note about meeting President John F. Kennedy, who joked he thought she was a Playboy bunny. There were spicy rumors too. At 83, she even laughed about a hazy teen memory with a young Warren Beatty, then waved off the details. The point wasn't gossip, it was control. Barbra made a choice to keep her private life private. She never turned famous friends into tabloid fodder, and she refused to write a kiss-and-tell catalog. Many stories stayed as admiration and gentle boundaries. That is power in a town that feeds on whispers. The headlines tried to claim her love story. Her actions said otherwise. Temptation didn't define her, restraint did. And that restraint prepared her for the next chapter, the one I love most. The chapter where she learns to stand alone, not as a star on a marquee, but as a person who knows what she wants and what she will not take from anyone. So what happened after the split from Gould? She didn't break, she built. Barbra poured herself into work that still echoes today and into raising her son Jason. She talks about loving her home by the ocean, about good friends, and about the freedom to choose quiet when quiet was rare. In her memoir, she writes the line that anchors this whole story. Maybe you have to be happy with yourself before you can be happy with someone else. That's not a bumper sticker, that's a survivor's rule. Over time, she let independence feel good, not lonely. She even says she had basically given up on finding someone and was all right with being on my own. When you reach that place, love stops being a rescue fantasy. It becomes an option. Meanwhile, the world still saw the glitter. Hit records, acclaimed films, sold-out stages. Behind the scenes, Barbra was learning the skill that would save her next relationship: patience with herself. That skill is the hinge of this story, because when fate finally knocked, it didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like a dinner invitation from friends and a man with a gentle smile and steady eyes. Here's the turn that feels like a movie. In 1996, Friends set up Barbra Streisand and James Brolin on a blind date. She was 54, he was 60. Both had quietly said, "Enough." And then, spark. Barbra later wrote, "I had basically given up on finding someone, and frankly, I was all right with being on my own." That mindset is exactly why the night worked. No chase, no pretense, just two adults who liked each other and laughed. Within months, they were in love. 2 years later, on July 1, 1998, they married. The tone was different from her first act. This time, they were equals. This time, she didn't need love to complete her. It arrived to complement her. If you're into deep-cut Hollywood stories told with heart, hit subscribe right now and tap like. Supporting the channel helps me bring you more intimate, well-researched legends just like this one. Back to Barbra and Jim. Could she trust this steady, hopeful love after all that noise and pain? The answer didn't come in fireworks. It came in daily life, in the way they solved small problems and let the big stuff shrink. Long love takes work. Barbra says it plainly. The real reason our relationship has endured is that we're both willing to work at it. James Brolin adds the practical rule that keeps them steady. Everybody needs to have patience and know when to take a walk. I adore that. She also jokes about their differences. She's the one who can spot a problem from a mile away. He's the one happy just to wake up, smile, and get on with the day. Opposites, but not oppositional. They married on July 1, 1998, and as of 2025, they've shared 27 years. A blended family brings kids and grandkids into the frame, and Barbra lights up when she talks about those gatherings. This isn't the flash of an early romance, it's the glow of a long burn. After the rough lesson of Funny Girl and the tender near miss with Sharif, this partnership feels like the answer she didn't know to ask for. Work, patience, humor, 3 tools, 1 home. With that foundation set, her late-life confession finally makes sense. It isn't about chasing more trophies, it's about making room for joy, on purpose, while there's still plenty of road ahead. Now to the confession itself. At 81, looking toward her 80s, Barbra said, "I haven't had much fun in my life, and I want to have more fun." She added the scene that makes me smile. "I want to live life. I want to get in my husband's truck and just wander. Life is fun for me when the children come over." That's the queen of the torch song asking for Saturday joy. Not lights, not gowns, just dogs, kids, a highway, and a hand to hold. When she frames it that way, you can feel the old pains turning into new wisdom. The cruel whispers on a Broadway stage, the letters from a charming co-star, the brave walkout of a young marriage, they all fold into this one idea. Fun is not noise, fun is presence. Love is not a rumor or a headline. It is the daily act of choosing one another and choosing yourself. With that in mind, the question of the love of her life stops being a mystery name and becomes a simple picture: a truck, a driveway, and a family waiting by the door. Here's the twist I love. In her newest work, Barbra leans into a theme the rest of us can use: discovering the secret of life through love and connection. That's not me guessing, it's how her team describes the heart of this chapter. The songs, the stories, even the title, The Secret of Life, Partners Volume 2, point to what she found after the storms. She has been married to James Brolin far longer than to Elliott Gould. Those decades show up as ease in her voice, gratitude in her jokes, a softer focus in the way she talks about home. The takeaway is gentle and strong. The love of your life may not be the first person you kiss or the brightest star in your orbit. It may be the life you build with patience, the partner who meets you at your level, and the grace you give yourself along the way. Barbra's late life confession isn't a scandal, it's a map. And it reminds me why I chase these stories, because the most famous faces can teach us the simplest truth. Keep going until love feels like peace. I don't do gossip, I do receipts. For this story, I went straight to Barbra's own words and recent interviews. I read her memoir, My Name is Barbra. I logged the BBC sit-down where she said she hasn't had much fun and wants more. I combed through careful reporting that quoted her lines about wandering in her husband's truck, family time, and the way love looks in her 80s. I checked pieces that captured James Brolin's patience rule and Barbra's line about working at the relationship. I looked at coverage of her new album and its theme of finding the secret of life through love and connection. And I traced the Broadway history, the Sharif letters, and the Elliott Gould timeline back to Barbra's own voice. That is how we keep the story clean and kind. No unverified affairs, no salacious spin. Just a living legend telling us how her heart grew. This is the part of the job I love: digging, cross-checking, and bringing the past forward so it feels alive right now. With that, let's land this plane and sit with the meaning of it all. Here's my take from a fan who believes the past still hums under our feet. Barbra Streisand's journey says love is a practice, not a headline. She was hurt and kept singing. She was lonely and kept learning. And then, when she didn't need saving, she found someone who matched her stride. That's the melody under the melody. I'm Sarah Reed, and this is Golden American Legends. If this story moved you, please subscribe, like, and share it with a friend who loves classic Hollywood. Your support helps me keep these legends alive and true. Thanks for watching. Now I want to hear from you. Which chapter of Barbra's love life surprised you the most? And did any part speak to your own story? Drop a thought, an emoji, or a tiny memory. I'll be reading. And remember Barbra's line that fits us all. Maybe you have to be happy with yourself before you can be happy with someone else. See you in the next deep dive, where we turn another golden page and find the human heart beating inside it.